2, 1. Hey everybody, we're at the Imp and the Ogre. My name's Paul.
This is Ryan.
Today we're tackling the Bastion of Broken Souls.
Yeah, Bastion of Broken Souls. Designer on that was Bruce Cordell. It's a 3rd edition game, published in 2002. It's designed for a party of 4 18th level PCs, and you can find the PDF of this on the DM's Guild website if you're interested in running it yourself. Do you want me to do the synopsis? You want to do the synopsis?
Go ahead.
So the basic sort of Cole's Notes version of it is your PCs are just hanging about, minding their own business, and bam, they get attacked by a demon devil hybrid. Which is, weird. Maybe someone gets kidnapped, maybe someone doesn't. Through some investigation, they figure out that one of the party is a descendant of some druid dude who once killed a dragon named Ashardalon, and only their blood can be used to weaken, or nearly slew. I guess it didn't actually kill the dragon the first time. And that person's blood can be used to weaken this great worm. And continuing on, you end up finding out that Ashardalon is actually eating the souls of the unborn, and this is resulting in babies being born without souls, which is bad. So it's up to the PCs to sort of save the day, as it were.
Yeah.
General impressions, sir. What did you think?
I think that the theme of the adventure is great. It feels epic. You're doing epic things. You're involved with gods and other planes and places you shouldn't be. And it all feels very relevant to the power level that you should be. Mm-hmm. I think that it's tough to run it because you still kind of follow the standard adventuring scheme, I guess, of information gathering and dungeon crawling and getting through places. So at the end of the day, I think it's a good adventure, but I don't know. I think maybe there's a little something, it feels like something's missing to feel that you're actually doing the epic stuff, I guess. Or if you
fight a god.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's some pretty epic scenes. I think it's a little episodic. Mm-hmm. It doesn't quite have the level of cohesion I might enjoy from an adventure in general. I do agree that this is suitably epic. If this is the capstone to your campaign, you're going to feel pretty good at the end of the day. You do amazing things. You defeat a super crazy big bad, and Ashardalon is a famous name in the D&D realm. I mean, I have a board game named after him, so it's a big deal. So yeah, I think it's good. In general, I'm always a little hesitant to do upper level adventures, and this is the second one we did. The Lich Queen's Beloved was another one that was, and this one, if I had to pick between the two, this one feels more epic, in scope between the two. Not that was a bad adventure, the other one, but I mean, how many people actually ever are running around with 18th level PCs?
Well, because there's no running around.
Well, yeah. Ha 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 ha. But I mean, I don't know the exact percentage of campaigns that actually reach this length, but I remember not too long ago seeing some internal statistics from Wizards of the Coast. This was 5th edition stuff, but the average campaign sort of peters out at level 7 or so. It's very rare to have PCs that are above 10th level ever.
Yeah.
Which probably is why there's way more low-level adventures out there than upper-level adventures. Personally, I think it's because D&D doesn't play so well at high levels. There's magic breaks everything. But,
you get very strong.
Well, it's a fighter at level 20 doesn't feel substantially different than a fighter at level 2, right? A wizard at level 20 is a god.
Yeah.
So I think from an internal sort of balancing party dynamic, it's not nearly as fun after a certain point. Also, it gets really complicated. When you have a million abilities and a million spells, sit down and actually make yourself an 18th level character.
Yeah.
pick all of your spells for all of the spell levels and all of your abilities, and then get all your equipment that you would need to do. Like, even suggesting that you just run this by its new characters, you're going to spend at least a whole session just making the characters,
right,
like filling in your character sheet, because they're just so complex at that point. In terms of the adventure itself, to get away from just complaining about adventures as a thing in general, I like that the structure of it's pretty loose, in that it's sort of site-based, but where you put the sites and when your players go there, there's not a particularly tight timeline.
No.
Right? There's nothing that says that your players can't spend a year of real game time doing this adventure, because they're also building a stronghold, or they want to make a magic item, or what have you. I mean,
that's true.
Only real time constraints on there is that they constantly are going to get attacked by that demon. You're just going to teleport in, attack them, and try to kidnap that guy. So that'll get annoying after a while. And all these soulless babies being born, which, they're not your babies. It doesn't really matter, right?
You can just leave the plane whenever you want. You don't have to live here anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think I guess just the material plane is the only place. In general, though, I did find that it was a little combat heavy. Mm-hmm. There's not much that you're really doing that's not a fight. And that being said, I did appreciate that there's no giant dungeons.
True. Yeah.
There's lots of combat, but all the combat locations are pretty small. The biggest one is the end dungeon.
Yes.
And even that isn't more than maybe a dozen rooms or something like that.
Somewhere around there.
Which isn't that bad when you consider how a lot of...
And they're not even rooms per se. You just move into an area.
They're connected areas, and you don't have to even explore all of them, right? You can just go straight to the center pretty much and fight the big bad if you could. So it's pretty solid overall. I mean, we'll get to the details of it in a second here, but there is a plot point that prevents any type of divine intervention. Mm-hmm. So it cuts out a lot of spell shortcuts that the PCs, if you'd been playing as a campaign all the way through, would have been used to at this point. And I mean, we were talking a bit about this off mic, but to me, that does feel a little bit like a cheat, and that's ties into a bit of the problem with high-level adventures, in that to make them sort of manageable, you have to take away the tools that the game has given your players as they power it up, right? Oh, no, you can't teleport through there because there's, a foot of lead in all of the walls,
but it also whatever, the change. I mean, the change is like there was an accord struck by the gods that they would not interfere with the unborn souls. Yeah. So
there's an actual...
There's a reason, but
reason, yeah.
So they're not removing the fact that you can commune with your deities. They're just limiting the information that they can give you. But it also, you'd think that the deities would be smart enough that they could give you the information without talking. It's like a Fight Club. Yeah. First rule of godhood is you can't talk around unborn babies. I think they'd be able to figure it out anyway. So it's just sort of... It is what it is.
It is what it is, but it definitely feels like to get any information, it's kind of a lot of 20 questions style thing. You can ask questions, but you only get answers to adjacent things. Mm-hmm. So as a DM, you kind of gotta make judgment calls as to whether that's close enough or not. So, they can't tell you what the thing is, but they could tell you if it's bigger than a bread box, or if it's animal, vegetable, or mineral, right? It's how close to the answer can it get. Now, that being said, there's not a ton of barriers in place to getting access to the information that you need to know. So you can get sort of adjacent information to tell you where to follow up on.
Yeah.
It basically just puts a barrier in place to stop you from just getting the answer directly from casting a spell.
Right.
Which again ties into your players got toys and then they can't play with them anymore. Yep. And that to me feels a little a little cheaty. Your players might not have a problem with it. I mean, especially because there's good lore reasons to this. It's not like you're just being a dickish DM. So, hey.
I mean, yeah, going like the themes in this are great. How you get to them maybe is not like the two heads of the Demigorgon like opposing one another.
Yeah, that's a weird. That's a weird side sort of thing that you may never ever even find out about. There's so many plots involved. I mean, just to avoid confusion, the entire meta plot of this is that whoever that ancient druid, whatever his name was, did almost killed Ashardalon. So for Ashardalon to survive, he replaced his heart with a demon prince, effectively.
Yep.
And that helped him survive for
several hundred years.
Millennia, who knows how long it's been. I can't remember the exact timeline. But his heart is failing now. The demon that's replacing his heart is running out of power. So he's now surviving by
consuming souls.
So that's the A plot, I guess, right? And then on top of that, as this whole thing is precipitated off of, is because Demogorgon, the two-headed demon prince, one of his heads is plotting to kill his other head, but that will kill him. So needs to get Ashardalon's heart, that demon, to basically become his new head, effectively, is what I took away from it. It's interesting
because, like, one half of the Demigorgon wants to, like, become one, and the other half doesn't want to become one, because the more heads, the more chaos there is. So it's this weird spot.
Yeah. So you basically have agents of Demogorgon on both sides trying to help and hinder the PCs. All at the same time, you still need to deal with Ashardalon eating all the unborn souls.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre, to say the least, and can get a bit confusing. Your players will probably want to take good notes, or they're going to be asking you lots of questions about, like, who's this person?
Nern and who's whoever, the bird.
Why do we care?
Yeah. I think, like, my favorite part of, like, the beginning, like, information gathering section is if you had a bard in your party, and then they found out, like, oh, did this thing, and you fought, and and if your bard makes a successful, like, DC 25, which should probably be okay to make at that level, that he remembers, like, the epic ballad that was sung about it.
Yeah. Anyways, let's dive into this thing. So, in terms of, like, hooks and getting started, really straightforward. You're just hanging out, and demons teleport.
One's trying to capture one of you, and one's trying to help you.
Yeah, so that's the main hook. I mean, I think for this to work properly, you probably should be foreshadowing in your campaign, babies are being born weird, right? And listless, is what they describe it as. And people have been learning that they're being born without souls. So I think a certain amount of foreshadowing, maybe in the previous adventure, would help this fit in better, if you will, right? Like to have us even as sort of like a low-key problem in the campaign world for an extended period of time. Like you could have had your entire campaign building up to like this if you had enough foreshadowing previously. It doesn't have to affect any of the earlier adventures you have, but like you can just sort of...
When you go to a temple, there's mothers there with their children.
Or when you do, like you're looking for rumors about the adventure you're on, and that can always just be one of the rumors is, you know, you just sort of pepper that through enough of the adventure to increase the payoff at the end. But basically, you get jumped. Then again, like the thing is, if a demon devil hybrid, the Cathazar, is going to do this, why is it going to jump this person when you're all together? Like, wouldn't you teleport in while like you're on the can or something like that? Just jump in and grab the one person, which you theoretically could do. You could be really mean that way and just like take the one player aside and say, you got jumped while you were sleeping. You're in a cage now. And then you tell everybody else that like, Steve doesn't come down from his room for dinner. I mean, it really depends on what your player situation is by this point. Like your 18th level, you should have some sort of stronghold. You might have multiple strongholds.
It's doubtful that you're hanging out together at that like power level, you know?
You shouldn't be adventuring
You're
together
not like
at
in
this
your
point.
basement playing video games with each other anymore.
Yeah, waiting to hang around the tavern being like, so, will anyone need adventurers?
You know,
yeah.
the fighter's like the god of war, probably.
It could be a king of a country or something like that. Adventuring should be more difficult as you get to this level. So, well, you know, your mileage may vary.
So anyway, the demon Cathazar shows up, either steals or doesn't steal, and this other demon shows up, Nern.
A dude, random dude shows up. You don't know what he is to begin with. He's just a random guy who helps. He's monkish, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, offers his support, and you get however you decide to collect information at this point is just sort of left up to the players. There's enough threads that you should be, I guess, powerful enough or wise enough to figure out where to find information.
Yeah, like you could find out enough information. Like the ban doesn't apply to things like the demon who jumps you.
Yeah.
So you could find the players themselves will find out regarding, say, who gets jumped.
Yeah, playing shit. I'd be like, who was that guy? And they're like, oh, that was Joe. He works for Jimmy down the street.
Yeah.
Like, and then you get to the point where they say you should probably scry on the demon.
Yeah.
And then you find out where he is. And then you can teleport directly there.
So it's kind of interesting because this demon never stops.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly keeps trying until you stop them. So depending on how you want to run the campaign, it might actually be less disruptive if you just let somebody get kidnapped right off the bat.
Because like every moment that you're trying to find information or there's an opportunity, it's like
pops in and
kidnap.
Yeah, keeps trying. So doesn't really matter. At some point, you're probably going to have to deal with this demon, and it's easiest to find it back to its lair.
Yeah.
I imagine, just based on the power level of it, it shouldn't be too difficult to drive it off. It can teleport without error, like at will. So actually killing it when you're unprepared would be very difficult. There's spells that prevent that type of stuff from occurring. Mm-hmm. So unless your PCs are built already to stop teleporting demons, the first encounter, one assumes that it'll get away. Whether or not it kidnaps somebody it depends on the dice effectively.
Yeah.
So the random dude, the Nern as they go by, if the Cathazar, the demon devil, disappears, this individual will fill them in with some of the information. Mm-hmm. Right? So well, he'll basically fill in the names of like who people are working for. Actually, this is one thing I had problems with. Like he'll actually refer to the names of Demogorgon's heads by their actual names, but the way it's written suggests that like we're not supposed to know what these names are.
Yeah. But
Demogorgon's identity is their name. This isn't like secret information. So a wizard, a cleric, a bard that has decent skill checks will know right off the bat that Demogorgon's involved. So
I think what it like infers is that hopefully that they know that that's not what they're supposed to be doing. Right? Like,
yeah, but I just this is just what I got from reading it. Is it felt to me that the Demogorgon's involvement is supposed to be secret from at the beginning. The PCs are supposed to eventually figure it out. But because in the conversation with Nern literally just says that he works for one head, and this guy works for the other head, and PCs can just make a roll and be like, "Oh, you're also working for Demogorgon." Like you can find PCs can find out that information immediately if your player's like, "Do I recognize the name?" Roll, and you're like, "Yeah, it's one of Demogorgon's head." How about the other name? Oh, the other head of Demogorgon, right? Like you can find out that twist immediately, and I don't know that that's intentional.
Maybe not. Yeah. Right? Well, it's not because there's an actual part in the adventure that's called Nern Comes Clean. Right?
Yeah. So you should come up with aliases. He shouldn't be forwarding the names of the demon prince heads right from the get-go personally.
Agree. Yeah, you're right. So you get some information. However you end up getting it, you end up going to the abode of Cathazar, where you probably fight him again. I did think there was a cool thing in his wherever his lair is.
I guess we should mention that Nern can join you as an NPC if the player's
kidnapped. Yeah.
No, let him. Like he'll take around the entire adventure
if you let him.
Like he'll help you fight Ashardalon at the end. Like he never, even once you find out what he is, and he's a death slad, I think.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of interesting because he's a bad guy, but he'll always be on the player's side for the entire game because their goals
are in alignment.
It's the
stopping
enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing. But the PCs might not feel that way. But he's a very powerful NPC that could help a lot. And this actually kind of ties into something that we mentioned a couple of times on other episodes, is that a lot of adventures just try to balance things by giving the party powerful allies to help, quote unquote. And I still don't know how I feel about that from a balancing game design standpoint.
If you got kidnapped, someone could play him.
Yeah, I think in that type of situation, that probably makes the most sense. But as written, it's not only if you get kidnapped. Yeah. Like he's just going to be your cohort from the get-go. And then it just means as the DM now I have to run a player on top of running all of these high-level monsters. You can hand the character sheet to someone and just say that he's yours now. Yeah, but not without... So his abilities are supposed to be secret. Like until his identity becomes revealed. You know what I mean? So. You can't really, because they'll just be like, these numbers seem off. Like, and then it's player knowledge versus character knowledge. And while good players are not necessarily going to abuse the difference, it always kind of bleeds into a little bit. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Cathasar's base you wanted to talk about? Yeah, the animated chain room. I thought was neat. Where there's like 20 odd hanging chains that all attack with his attack that can make 23 attacks in a row. Thought that was all kind of cool. Yeah. So the Cathasar can animate them like a chain devil or whatever. Yeah. So if the PC gets kidnapped, this is probably the first place the PCs go. If a PC doesn't get kidnapped, they may never actually come here because there's no direct reason to track the Cathasar, other than the fact that you just got irritated that every other encounter is this, demon with backup effectively. Yeah. See, I originally thought when I had read the first half or third of the adventure that it would make more sense to have the descendant of Did not a PC, have it someone they were attached to. But then once you get to the end, it's they sort of have to be someone that could be involved in the fight or else there's just no way to succeed. Yeah. Because is he really going to kidnap someone when you're all hanging out together? So then this would just become, there'd be no point in any of this, really. Yeah, it's the ending is where this becomes an issue. I mean, the other alternative is if you had cohorts or something like that, and it was a cohort. But, I mean, being a descendant of Did doesn't actually really confer any huge mechanical advantages throughout the campaign, until the very last encounter, effectively. But then again, it's one of those situations you need to make sure that your players are okay with somebody being more specialer than other people because of who his great grandpappy was. What I did think was super cool is that if the players go to the Cathasar's place and teleport in there, there's a teleportation trap. If they try to teleport anywhere nearby, they get sucked into a room based off of the magic. They're hit with a bunch of dispels, and then a trap goes off. And throughout this adventure, there's little things like that punish high-level player behavior, right? But it's also smart if you knew that anyone could just pop in on you at any moment, that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to have. I think it's absolutely reasonable. I thought it was really funny that if the players just sort of we're jumping in, just sort of walked to the front door and went in through the front door, it's less punitive than them teleporting in. Yeah. And actually, one thing I wanted to mention before we dive into this a little bit more that I thought was kind of interesting is that there's two other locations above and beyond the Cathasar's house that they're supposed to investigate, right? There's the Guild of Sleep and Church of Elements. What I thought was kind of cool is that you can put these places anywhere in the multiverse. Yeah. And what I was thinking is that you should be sort of doing the greatest hits of your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be putting these places near or in cities or places they've already been to.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, if part of your campaign took them to the elemental plane of fire, well, maybe the Calthasar's abodes in the city of brass or something. Like, this is an opportunity to make them go to weird places for no other reason than they can.
Yeah.
So
why not?
You shouldn't just have the Guild of Sleep being Waterdeep. No, it should be on the 33rd plane of the, layer of the abyss because you can put them anywhere you want, and I think this is one of those situations where you should put it super weird because let the players go somewhere weird. This is the last hurrah in a campaign, unless you plan on doing epic stuff, which is a separate discussion, but make them go weird places and let them explore around in the odd place if they want to, right?
I agree.
What else? Calthasar's abode. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, other than like you mentioned with the chain room, the 24 extra attacks just seems like a bad idea to fight this person in their home. But
like, I don't know if you're supposed to succeed because I think I'm remembering correctly that like he's got like his little library. Yeah. And if it looks like you're going to win, he just launches a fireball into his library to destroy all his information.
Again, I love that. I'm like, not enough. There's not enough villains that have plans in place to just burn down all their evidence, right? Yep. So I thought that was fairly clever. Yeah.
And I think if he doesn't succeed, that's where you get the information about Church of Elements or one of them. There's something in there. You learn about how his heart works or something.
You learn more. Basically, the information that you get from if they don't burn down the study. The information that you can get, I actually wrote this down. That's the only reason I remember.
The soul charged heart.
So you learn more about Did. You learn more about Ashardalon. You learn more about the Bastion of Souls. So that's one of the first places you hear about that. And then you find out here that this person knows that they're working for one of the heads of Demogorgon and what the purpose is, that they want Ashardalon's heart so they can survive without their twin's head, effectively
grafted into their own chest.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's like a double graft.
The funny thing, though, I forgot until I looked at my notes here, is that even if you defeat the Calthasar, it doesn't stop the raids. It just becomes like the B team. It's like a Balor comes in, and like then there's the C team, and then, like it just never ends. But realistically, to get access to the information, it would involve the players, defeating the Calthasar in one of their raids. And then going to investigate the place after the fact.
Yeah.
Because it definitely seems like a vast majority of the information, like the clues for the players to follow up on are definitely supposed to come from magic.
Yeah. And just going places.
But like to find out about the Guild of Sleep and to find out about the Church of Elements, it's asking their gods, right? Like I think that's the only way. Like following up on Did leads to the Church of Elements, and then following up on the Band of the Unborn leads to the Guild of Sleep.
Yep.
Right.
And then if you do the Guild of Sleep, you find out about Eco, the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So that's even if you succeed at the Guild of Sleep.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about next? But anyway, so
Guild of Sleep probably is the.
Guild of Sleep.
Because if you go to the Church of the Elements, you just get information about how Did mortally wounded Ashardalon.
Well, yeah, the Church of Elements is just an interesting location.
Yeah.
Also, I mentioned that you're talking to a tree.
Yeah.
Right?
The sapling.
The ancient sapling that's as old as the multiverse or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's not supposed to be any combat encounters.
No.
Here, I mean, basically, I said just make sure you put it someplace cool. Like, Feywild is the bare minimum, but it should be someplace awesome.
Like the Edge of Time. Just make up something interesting, the Maelstrom or...
A floating island in limbo or something like that. It should be something super bizarre because ultimately it's just an exposition thing. Because if the players are... Actually, what would be cool is to have them go to the Church of Elements and then have the demons raid at that time because and the players wouldn't even have to do anything. The tree ants would animate all the trees and then it just a script of what's like why you don't mess with this sapling. Like you wouldn't have to roll dice. Like you just like describe what happens and just have the bad guy teleport away. Because I just found it was interesting that there's this great description in the adventure about what's the defenses that are in place and what happens when this happens and blah 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 blah.
You don't get to see them.
But none of it's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
right.
That's
So
true. That'd be cool.
I think I'd probably script a raid kidnapping attempt just to explain how what happens, because I guess
cool. it would be fun as a PC to like see what we're capable of getting into, like these places that we can come to. Like, why are they so special?
Yeah. Anyways, the Church of Sleep has got more important information there.
Yeah, the Guild of Sleep I thought was pretty cool, and it's just, I mean,
Guild of Sleep,
where people go and dream, and they can. There's like junkies that can go there and dream for like a couple hours, or there's the eternal sleepers that dream for years and years and years. But
I wrote neat concept, odd execution. Like, this is very bizarre to me.
I mean, the point is to wake up the eternal dreamer person, but I thought it was cool because I said, who doesn't want to fight a winged Triceratops?
Dreamer Prime.
Dreamer Prime.
As you're supposed to wake up. Yeah. So the fight with Dreamer Prime feels a little bit off, but flying Triceratops kind of make it worthwhile. Yeah.
So I mean, it's cool. You end up fighting this like beautiful dream version of this person.
And they're dream creatures. Like,
if you defeat them, you wake up
the Dreamer Prime. I can't remember.
It's a hag.
It's a night hag. The PCs may not recognize it as a night hag. It's like an old ugly woman. Yeah. But I can't remember why. Like, she refuses to give you the information while she's sleeping.
Yeah. And she'll only provide it while she's awake.
Yeah. So to get the information, you need to wake her up, and to wake her up, you need to defeat her. It's a tough and bizarre fight. Mm-hmm. Not only because of the flying Triceratops, but like it's just there's a lot of weird things and odd magic effects and whatnot going on. It's not designed to be complicated, or undefeatable. Like, I think it's very manageable for PCs to deal with, but because you're not dealing with corporeal entities, right? They're basically psychic projections from the sleeping person. That would have an effect on a lot of the spells that players could use. Yeah. Though I will say this is a situation where you could absolutely be like, oh, okay, we're going to come back in a little bit, and then like absolutely prepare completely for this one specific example, one battle. Like,
then she dreams up a flying T-Rex, unprepared.
So you could definitely dress it up as much as you want.
And if you end up waking up and succeeding, you find out that Ashardalon is eating souls, defeat his immortality, and it's the reason for the soulless kid.
This is the only place you can find out about what the Bastion of Souls is.
Yeah, so you find out
the Bastion. Well, yeah,
the winged gatekeeper.
But the Bastion of Souls is basically in whatever D&D edition this was, 3rd edition. The cosmology had that unborn souls originated from the Well of Souls, which is in the Bastion of Souls, and then these souls go off and inhabit bodies where they become a full-fledged soul. So this is where all the new souls come from, and that the gods are not supposed to talk about it. Nobody's supposed to have dominion over it because everybody, I don't know. I can't remember what the reason was. It's just a rule of the multiverse is that no god can have dominion over the source of new souls.
Right.
And you find out that there was a deity that tried to claim dominion over the Well of Souls, or the Bastion of Souls, named Odysseus. And he did so, and all the other gods across the multiverse rose up against him and basically overthrew him, imprisoned him. And then finally we can talk about Eco, who is a planetar.
Yep. Solar.
Solar, sorry.
His companion is a planetar.
Oh, well, I mixed up my...
your angels.
My angels. But you find out that this person guards entrance to the prison that holds Odysseus, and there's certain artifacts that you need, or this god made an artifact that allowed him access to this Bastion of Souls. It was broken in the fight when he was overthrown, and to get access to the Well of Souls, Bastion of Souls or whatever, you need to get a piece of this artifact. So you need to find this fallen god, get his piece, and so you can get access to the Bastion. I think that's
that sums it up.
I don't remember, but this is like how many pieces there were, or how Ashardalon got one. I don't remember.
I don't know. 3 pieces of the totem, I think. But this is basically the first. Eco is the first person that you run into that you could just like go to your gods, be like, who's Eco? And they could tell you the story about all of this and give you all the information. So then there would be no more like guessing, really. Yeah. You'd know where to go. And they could even probably tell you that Eco, him or herself, is the door, and which leads into the next part, because once you find out where Eco is, which is in Pandemonium, you can teleport there, and it just basically says that you can find Eco pretty willingly once you get there. But what I liked about this next section is that there wasn't a good choice.
I literally wrote, not sure how this is supposed to play out.
Yeah, like there's not the right choice, right? This is the lesser of two evils situation where you either have to somehow convince Eco to open the door for you, which is impossible.
They won't.
Or kill Eco to gain access.
Who's a lawful good angel. So
it's like, how badly... This is the lesser of two evils. And Eco also understands, like, it gets the conundrum, it knows that it can't open the door, but also that it has to die. Because you're, like, this is a cool narrative where she's not, or she or he's not going to let you in, but knows that you have to get in.
Well, they don't have to get in. I mean, it comes down to, like, this is one of those things couldn't you just petition your deity? Like, isn't this one of those situations where you just, like, go to Valhalla and be like, yo, Odin, we really need to go stop this from happening, and there's this angel that's being a dick about it. Can you go talk to him? Like, isn't that something that's possible?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know whose Solar this is. I don't know if they're affiliated with any of the other deities. Also, so this is one of those situations where, like, you kind of got to make a judgment call, would a deity allow you to get access to the Well of Souls? Like, is that something, or the Bastion of Souls, or whatever? Where's this, the interdiction, ban on the unborn? Like, there's some nuance there.
Right. To what degree are they allowed to
interfere or acknowledge it or help? You know what I mean? So that's sort of a DM's call. I mean, on the other hand, your players might just be like, fine, stabbity stab, right? Like, but if you have like a lawful good paladin, right?
Probably not.
You're doing an evil thing, right? Like, there's as written, there's no way to get around doing this evil thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to charm the angels. Like, I'd have to look at what the high level compulsion magic looks like. Feeble mind them and then make them think they're cows or something. Like, I'm sure there's creative ways of getting around it without killing them, but it's not easy or trivial.
Yeah.
This person can't be convinced through non-magical means. Otherwise, you need to kill them.
Yeah.
But when you kill them, they turn into a glowing portal.
Yeah. So if they die, they open the gate to the prison, where you pop in and you find Deseus after not much difficult searching, and he's a fallen titan.
Yeah.
And he'll parlay with you, but will not give you his shard
willingly.
So you fight. Yeah. And have to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of depressing. Like, there's a lot of, like, his what were they, Lilins? Yeah, Lilins, the snake, flying snake lady people things. Yeah. They're all just, like, super depressed because they've been here for millennia with nothing to do. And it's just a depressing cave full of, like,
nothing.
Art, effectively.
Well, rotten art.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, too, is, like, once again, Deseus isn't evil. Like, he was, like, a good god.
Yeah, he tells you a story, how he, like, thought, ward of unborn souls, and he didn't think that the gods would do anything about it, and now he's just, like, hanging out. Yeah. He's like, I tried. They didn't like it. So here I am.
Again, you have to fight a fallen god. You got to kill a titan.
And maybe this is, like, the point of the adventure a little bit, too, is that, like, they want you to make, hard choices. Powerful people have to make hard choices, and unfortunately, killing something that is pure good is part of that, if you want to stop pure evil.
Yeah.
Maybe that's, like, a what they were thinking about when they were writing these scenes, that they wanted you to fight Eco, they wanted you to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, because it would probably be pretty heart-wrenching for a lawful good paladin to have to kill, a being of good. But knowing that you're saving the bajillions of souls going out into the world could be worth it.
Yeah, stop an evil dragon from eating them.
If you did track alignment, maybe an alignment shift is worth the pain, I guess.
Well, it's a very interesting...
Like, what would that do? What would that do for alignment if you were a lawful good paladin?
There's no alignment in 5th edition anymore. And I think very much this is why there's no alignment in 5th edition.
It wouldn't make you evil.
No, but it gets into that whole the ends justify the means, right? How many people are you allowed to kill to save 100 people?
Exactly.
Right? Like it's
or a million
people. I guess it's the value of a life and all that type of stuff. It's an interesting moral thing, and it might be kind of fun to have it at a table to see that play out. So yeah, I think it's cool that you get to fight a god, even if it's a fallen god. That being said, you could also probably just like turn invisible and steal it and then run. You don't have to fight.
I feel like you could convince him too, and just be like, someone figuring what you weren't allowed to do. We're going to stop him.
Yeah,
he might just be like, that seems like a good idea. But also, why couldn't you just let him out of prison? Nobody's watching anymore. There's no gatekeeper. The door's open. Recruit him.
Maybe.
Are the gods keeping an eye on their prisoners in Pandemonium?
Well, I think the reason why he won't give up his totem is because it contains part of his divinity.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe you can bring him along.
Like, we can get all 3 pieces of the totem together. You could be a god again. Come help us fight Ashardalon.
I'm not opposed to that idea.
Then he takes up residence at the end and fulfills his destiny.
Oh, geez. Oh, man. Like, he just ruined everything. Like, that would be kind of awesome, though.
But, I mean, that's, like, not proposed, but
I support that idea.
It doesn't say that anything is, like, holding him to there, except that the gate is closed.
Yeah.
Eco is the gatekeeper. You slew Eco. The gate is open. It stays open for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then, so you could just be like, let's go.
Yeah. We need your help.
Yeah. What's in it for me? Well, Ashardalon.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah. Ashardalon has another totem. We can find another one.
I prefer that idea. I hadn't actually thought of that. Yeah. And I find that more enjoyable.
Yeah.
That you now have
It'd be neat.
That'd be super cool.
It'd be neat. You got a Titan hanging out with you.
He's a tough guy.
Oh, for sure.
I'd much rather him than the Death's Lad.
And then, like, if you didn't want that to work, like, the moment you step out of the prison, you could have, like, the gods come and just smite him instantly. Just all of a sudden, whoop, back into the prison.
Yeah. Army of angels chasing you.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're fugitives.
Well, hey, you're interplanar criminals. You facilitate a divine prison break.
I mean, you got to assume that, like, there's... Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If you are planning on continuing your campaign into epic levels, there's worse hooks.
Yeah, that could be neat. So assuming you do it as the way that is written.
Well, regardless of the way, you end up getting access to the shard. I guess it doesn't really matter if you have it personally or if you just bring along your new Titan buddy.
And it doesn't matter. You know that this gets you to the positive energy plane.
You know where the Bastion of Broken Souls is at this point. And this basically... is the midpoint of the adventure. There's this sort of free-flowing, open-ended part of it.
Yep.
Where you do your investigation, you collect your MacGuffins, and you get all this stuff together, and now you need to go assault the Bastion, which is much more traditional. It's basically a little mini dungeon that you need to go investigate. So, as you mentioned, it's on the positive energy plane, and I enjoyed everything about the positive energy plane.
But if you're not, like, attuned, you can explode.
You constantly gain hit points until you explode.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're just constantly regenerating. Now, there's a made-up spell that's included in this that if you get that spell, you don't explode. I literally just wrote boo. Like, that just takes all the fun out of it. I've actually prefer the idea that players just have to constantly stab themselves to lose a couple hit points so they don't explode.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, which isn't that unreasonable because that's how all the demons are surviving.
Yeah.
Right? They have those wristbands that are constantly causing damage over time.
Yep.
Right? Like 1 hit point per round to counteract the 1 hit point per round of positive energy healing.
Yeah, true.
I prefer that to like the just sort of hand wavy spell. Here's a spell for all your players that don't want to be bothered with dealing with this mechanic.
Yep.
Right? That's no fun to me.
And it would be cool if like one of your players exploded at one point.
It just would be, it would be fun.
Or if the spell was like, it lasts an hour, you have like, you gotta hustle.
Yeah. I think.
And then in the epic fight, all of a sudden you're like, your cleric explodes.
Well, you get all these temporary hit points, right?
Yeah.
Like there's something to be said for like swelling up to the point where you're almost going to be able to explode. And then you can take like a full Ashardalon's like empowered dragon breath in the face. And you're just like, oh, I feel so much better. Thank you. Right. Like,
yeah,
there's some fun that can be had, with it.
It'd be neat. This is also the point. I like the, that gravity is wherever you will it to be. So you can just float around and fly. And once you figure out, like, there's a whole point to like figuring out the mechanic. So you're just kind of whipping around.
I will say that like fighting suddenly becomes super complicated.
Yeah.
When you can just be like, I'm on the ceiling now. Right? If you use,
gravity becomes normal once you get to the Bastion again. So it's just like sort of, I think, a fun thing.
There is a fight outside the Bastion, though, which I could see being difficult to do. When you go to the positive energy plane, this is also where Nern fesses up. Yeah. So this is where you find out that he is a Death's Lad, and he will explain that he is working for the other head of Demogorgon.
But he still wants to be on your side.
He still wants to be on your side. This might be one of those. It doesn't really matter. Like, you players can drive him off, or you can keep him around. Just more exposition to fill in the last couple of details if your players missed out on anything. Yeah. So if they never went to see the Calthazar's abode, never got access to that information, never cared enough to follow up on it.
Yep.
At this point, they can have all of the information. And then the Bastion itself, there's lots of demon fights, but other than that, it was a pretty standard dungeon.
I enjoyed that you fight the spawn of Ashardalon, and that there's the Etten half-dragon. I thought that was kind of neat.
It's a pretty busy dungeon. Like, it's chock full, which again ties into sort of the common problem with like resting.
Yeah. Because
there's a lot of half dragons in here. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't remember how many there are. Like,
lots.
It's pretty repetitive. I mean, I think one of them's like a chimera, and one of them's like an Etten, one of them's like
there's a pan.
Yeah, like a satyr and all of that type of stuff. I felt that it gets a little repetitive because it's like you fight a bunch of red dragons before fighting a red dragon, which I don't know. Your mileage may vary, but after a certain point, like if it's the same kind of fight over and over and over again, maybe the design. Actually, I guess because you're constantly regenerating, maybe it doesn't really matter. It's just trying to sort of tease out some of the wizard spells from your characters, I guess. On the other hand, this is super the time for your physical people shine, because they can just take a beating and keep on going, right? Yeah. Like, just let your fighter and ranger or barbarian or whatever run in there, and the wizard can just be like, no, you guys got this.
Yeah. I think another thing that I didn't quite like about this area, the Bastion, is that you're meant to see all the rooms because you have to attune to the Bastion, right? Like, and you have to spend a certain amount of time in each of the rooms, and then you can just like the DM just tells you feel more attuned to the Bastion as you go along, and you're meant to just explore until you just, at your discretion, the DM, you pop in the Pan Dragon that tells you where Ashardalon is, because he doesn't really like his dad or whatever. And then you can just go once you're attuned
to the center,
and you need to be in like 11 different rooms to get attunements. And then once you're attuned, he knows you're coming, and you can go through. You do find Dragon Hammer, an artifact.
Boo.
Yeah. So
I didn't care for that whatsoever. I don't think that you need, from a design standpoint, to put a dragon slaying sword in the final dungeon where you're going to fight a dragon. This is one of those situations where your players have basically infinite time to prepare for a fight with an epic level red dragon.
You don't need to know. You don't need to have the weapon that was designed specifically to kill him.
Just given to you. It's like, oh, you trip over something in the bush. It's the super dragon killing sword.
Yeah.
And it's really that ridiculous. Like, you just find like a dead, find a skeleton of a paladin that like tried to come and kill him, so here's your sword.
Yeah.
And it's a perfectly fine sword, but it's not even like an amazing sword. I'd hope that by 18th, 19th level, I guess at this point, your players have better gear than the sword is. Like, it's just specifically designed for killing dragons, but I would hope that everybody, if you're an archer, you have +5 Dragonbane arrows of slaying, like, invest in some gear here, people. You're fighting the boss of your campaign effectively. So I actually didn't like, I felt that it was unnecessary and kind of a cheat.
A little bit. And I guess we're just at the final battle now, effectively. But I also didn't like that, and I think I'm remembering correctly, that it explicitly says that your players probably won't succeed on the first attempt. Right? So, like, you're just supposed to pop in and, like, do a bit of fighting and then just leave. And he's like, ugh, finally, they left. Like, would he not chase you out? Just, like, engulf a ton of souls that are, like, in a pool of water on the ground and just, like, rip out of there and chase you?
Not as written.
Yeah. So, eventually, I think it just falls into the same trap that, like, big boss fights have, that just, they expect that you can just go in and out as many times as you want until you succeed.
Yeah, I didn't really.
He's got like 700 and whatever hit points or whatever it is, and you're just sitting there whacking on him until he dies. It's
a tough fight, and he's supported by like a bard, dragon spawn, which sucks because for the PCs, because high level bards do tons of buffing. It seems actually kind of hard. I mean, in terms of like special abilities, he doesn't really have any. He's just like a super red dragon, which is dangerous enough. Like, he doesn't really need super abilities. I did think that for all of the kerfuffle that's made over the descendant of Did, the actual ability that it confers is just stuns the dragon for 1 round and gives 75% fire resistance, which isn't nothing. But one would hope that all of the players would have made sure they have really high fire resistance.
Yeah.
At least 75%, before they fought a red dragon. So,
because they could have done all their research and been like, oh, we're going to fight a red dragon. How many things do we have that can, and spend the next 2 years building like red dragon slaying?
You didn't spend that much time. Just go buy a bunch of like scrolls of resistance and endure elements and all of that type of stuff. Like, you would have prepared for it. So I don't think that helps. Like, it's one of those things that feels like, oh, your players aren't the type of players that actually do any preparedness. So we're just going to put this in there for all the PCs that don't prepare to make sure they don't just die immediately from one fire breath,
Yeah. I think final battle, whatever. But like thinking about souls not going into bodies anymore. And like, I assume this extends beyond just like human children.
Yeah.
That like, it would be kind of neat to go like travel to the hells. Like recruit high level demons, because if there's no souls being born, there's potentially no souls to go to hell anymore. So like, how are they going to fuel
the whole currency of the lower planes is just out of whack?
Yeah, exactly. So you could go like talk to the financial advisors of hell and like recruit some demon lord.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to be recruiting. I think the issue is you don't necessarily want those types of individuals in.
Yeah, I guess
the Bastion of Souls. Now, one thing I did think was kind of awesome is if you don't just die to the dragon, which dying to the dragon is a perfectly reasonable outcome to this adventure, a demon bursts out of his chest and goes, finally, I'm free.
And like a heart demon, too. It's like shaped like a heart, just pops out, summons his like awesome weapons of awesomeness to him. Yeah. And just like, oh, thanks.
I think he eventually changes his shape or whatever, but it's Amet, the demon, right? Like it's a god of the basically demon of the underworld, basically.
Demon prince.
Yeah, he's a demon prince, and then he attacks like immediately. So you barely survive fighting a dragon, and then you got to fight a demon who will flee if you actually damage him enough. But he's not thankful. He's not like, thanks for saving me, guys. He's just like, death and destruction.
Souls!
Yeah. So you have to drive him off. So like it's awesome that his demon just bursts out of a dragon's chest. But for your players, it's just going to be brutal. Right? Like out of nowhere, you're just like, finally. And then we all die because we have no hit points and no spells or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, if you didn't recruit a bunch of help, if you didn't keep Nern, if you didn't like convince your fallen god to join the team, it could be problematic. So I don't know. I mean, I think more likely than not, you're going to die fighting the dragon unless you're super prepared.
I think hopefully, like if you get to that level, that's like an okay outcome. Yeah, you either succeeded in the most epic fashion imaginable and stopped some catastrophe, or you failed.
Yeah, it might even be one of those situations where you kind of like let the players intentionally sacrifice themselves to save the day. You know, I strap a bunch of explosives to myself and then bait the dragon into eating me. You know,
or like they offer their own level 20 souls to him.
Yeah,
which heals. You could make something up, right? Like makes him whole, so you can leave the bastion.
I'm sure there's something that you could do if if it's impossible for them to beat the actual dragon. On the whole, I thought the first half was better than the second half. I kind of like the globe trotting, plains trotting investigation aspect of it. You get to do some cool things. Flying Triceratops dream, creatures are pretty neat. Fighting a fallen god or recruiting a fallen god, as you mentioned, is awesome.
Yep.
The Bastion itself definitely seems kind of draggy. Like, it just seems long and repetitive to a certain extent and unnecessary. Like, I don't know why you need all of that other stuff. Like, just get right to it.
Yeah.
Kick down the door. There's Ashardalon, like, sucking at the well, ingesting souls, and just jump in. Like, I mean, you can have some demons on the outside, have a fight. They can prayer, they go in, and it's just biggity bang. Like, I don't feel that there's much that would be lost if you cut all of the spawn fights.
Yeah, just have like a demon army waiting to assault the bastion, and you can just cruise by it and just go in.
Yeah. Or even just have a couple spawn outside the bastion to like defend.
True.
Right? I think win or lose, it's an amazing way to end a campaign.
Yeah, much better than the Lich Queen's Beloved as a whole for like an epic level.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to go back and listen to the whole thing if you want all the details of that. But that's just one dungeon.
Yeah.
And it goes on forever.
Forever.
This one, at least, you're getting to sort of get your greatest hits along the way. But, overall, I would recommend it and I enjoyed it. I don't think I have anything else to add to it unless you have something you want to bring to the party.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think altogether, great epic level adventure. I would probably play it for a party of PCs and have fun doing it, and I think they'd have fun too.
I don't know if I'd ever have a campaign that actually made it to 18th level, but if I ever got one that lasted that long.
Yeah. I think that's all we have to say on this one, guys. So thanks for listening. Next week, we're tackling Ravenloft.
Yes, we are. The classic i6. So look forward to that.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.